Hello and welcome. My name is Amit Rechavi, and today we're going to go over the presentation, The Secondary Global Market for Hacked Data. Tamar, David and I executed this research, and we are from the Hebrew University and University of Maryland. Well, we all know that hacking, cybercrime is borderless, meaning it's done all over the globe, many countries, and we can't say really that we have any borders for these activities. However, we didn't find any empirical studies that explore it on a global scale, meaning trying to connect the dots between hacking activities. In our study, we're looking to find connections between different hacking activities, and it doesn't matter where they are located. We were looking for a connection between countries or between different IPs in different countries, and we were wondering whether we can map these activities and find something that we can connect them together and see if we can analyze some worldwide phenomenon. So actually our study, we tried to connect two different kinds of hacking when hacking is a two-step process. We had several countries or several IPs from countries who excel in the first kind of attack, and then we had other IPs which excel on the second kind, and we were trying to connect the dot and see whether we can find any transfer of data between the hackers. And though we cannot see this global mapping or global network, we can trace the data that is transferred from one side to the other, and we can say something about network of hackers. The first theory, as you can see, comes from criminology, and it is the routine activity theory. This theory actually suggests that the offender and the victim might meet once we have no real established protection. We use this in country level, and we used the research from 2016, which was applied to 132 countries. And the higher cybercrime activity exists in wealthier countries with more internet users per capita. Meaning when people have the chance to execute hacking activities, they might do it. In our research, we used two types of hacking activity. The first one might be done by bots, while the second one is more sophisticated and it should be executed by humans. A little bit further, we'll discuss the connection or the links between these two activities. In our research, we also use network activity or social network analysis. Let me talk a little bit about networks. Network is mainly a combination between nodes and links. You have several objects and they are connected with links. We have several theories regarding networks and the topology of networks and how networks might be created. We have many studies regarding the issues of network topology and the roles of the nodes in the network. However, we might agree that the topology should serve or design according to the network functionality, meaning the purpose of the network should be somehow depicted in its topology, in its structure, and we should look for some reasonable link or linkage between how the network is constructed and what the network should be doing. However, we might see the network as a combination of many nodes, while each node has its own purpose. So the purpose or the motivation of the network is just a combination of many different, sometimes even contradicting motivations of the nodes inside the network. So the topology might be the sum of many topologies or subtopologies that are all arranged in the network. I'm suggesting this theory because a few slides we're going to show you the network topology, and then we're going to ask why the topology looks the way it is. Is there any reason why we had this structure of the network? Can we find some logic behind the structure, or is it just a mixture of many activities done between nodes, each one concerns only with its own needs, and the network is a combination of many individual needs or motivations. So next I wanna dive into the one specific topology, which is called core periphery topology. As you can see in this slide, this topology has several strong nodes, central nodes that are really connected to one another. In each node, you can see them now painted in green, has many peripheral nodes that are connected only to the specific node. So you have like a backbone of central nodes that can speak to each other, transfer data, transfer information, chat with each other, but each one of these central nodes has many peripheral nodes who are connected or speak or chat or deliver data only to this node. You can see that the peripheral nodes do not speak with each other, they are not connected. So this central node has a real control over the group of peripheral nodes. You might ask yourself why I'm presenting to you this core periphery topology. Well, it was found, as you can see in the slide, that this specific topology has the greatest value in delivering data from knowledgeable nodes to novice nodes. Meaning this topology is the best when you have core of knowledgeable nodes who want to transfer the ideas, the data, the skills to many other who are not so skillful, and the topology serves this target or this purpose the best way. This topology was actually in our head when we tried to figure out what will be the nature of the global hacking network. We were hoping to find that we have several very knowledgeable hackers who spread the knowledge all over the world to more novice or hackers who are not so skillful. I want to jump now and talk a little bit about the methodology of our research. So actually we were using honeypots in 2015, and we did it on the academic center in Israel. We had 60 honeypots, and we used them for 36 days. Actually, when I say honeypot, it's a regular computer that is any hacker can reach and try to hack to the computer. The nice thing is that we can log and record a reaction the hacker is doing. So while the hacker thinks he's looking for some data, or he wants to delete or transfer data from the computer, what is really going on is the computer just recording every step the hacker is doing, so we can learn the activity and the behavior of the actor. So we might analyze some patterns regarding hacking activities. We can also know from which IP he came to the honeypot computer, how long the hacker stays in the computer, and many other data that we use in our research. So when I'm coming back to the network theory and looking at the activities as a network, you can imagine that we have a first network that is based on the IPs of the hackers all over the world, and our honeypots located in Israel, and we have a network of hackers and honeypots. So hacker can try to hack to many IPs, and each IP address might receive hacking activities from many hackers, so we can get quite complicated network. Now I want to explain a little bit about the hacking activities. So actually we have two hacking activities. The first one, which is brute force attacks, is quite simple. The hacker is trying to guess the username and the password of the computer, and is doing so for many times until he's successful. In our study, we saw that the brute force attacks occurring several hundred times sometimes for very short period of time. So we think these activities are done by bots, by algorithms, runs script with many passwords and many usernames, trying to hack to the honeypot. Once the bot succeeded in entering the honeypot, then we have two options. The first one is the bot now has the right username and the right password, and he can go on and start looking inside the computer, executing some hacking activities regarding deleting, transferring, changing, viewing, editing data. And the second option, that the algorithm might keep the username and password for next session in some future time, because now the hacker has the username and the password, so he can use them whenever he wants. So sometimes the brute force attack stops when the hacker has the username and the password, and now he's just thinking to himself or to herself what he's going to do with it. He might use it later, or as we suggest in our study, he might sell it to someone else who has the ability or the skills to make some real dangerous hacking activities, like deleting or changing or turning the computer into a zombie computer. So what we're saying that the first wave of attack, which is called a brute force attack, is only done to get the real password and the real username. And the second attacks, which are called sessions, are the real harmful activities, as I explained later, when malicious actions, copying, altering, deleting, changing, or even turning your computer into a zombie computer, meaning your computer will execute other malicious activities when he's ordered to by the hacker. We should remember that the username and the password were selected randomly, and they are not easy username or password like QWERTY or 123456, and it should take a while to guess the username and the password. So any successful guess, just someone can guess for the first time the username or the password, is not reasonable. We assume that no one can guess really sophisticated username and password. At the end of the experiment, after 36 days, we had approximately 1 million brute force attacks and 400 sessions, meaning 400 times users entered, or hackers entered, the computer and started to look for data they might use. As you can see from the graph concerning the volume of brute force attacks, we had several levels of attacks in the 36 days. We had several levels of number of honeypots that were attacked, and you can see it's quite dynamic. We don't have like a monotonous trend. We have attacks coming and going, coming and going, which looks kind of random. However, what is interesting, and actually this is what our research is about, that we find 150, we call it out of the blue sessions, meaning these sessions started when the hacker entered the honeypot with the right username and the right password for the first time. We couldn't track any brute force attack that were done before this session, meaning the hacker just knew quite strong password and non-trivial username and just entered our honeypot. So concerning these out of the blue sessions, we're looking if we can track any previous brute force attack done hours or days before the session by the same IP or by different IP. So applying social network analysis techniques, we analyze this 149 pairs of sessions and brute force attack, and this is the network we are actually exploring. And we're saying there is a secondary or concealed market where the data regarding the right password and the right username are transferred from the first wave to the second wave. As we wrote on the third point, the fact that the attacks can be executed through bots or slave computer does not change the mapping of the transfer of hack data. I want to mention it because sometimes the IP which is located, let's say, in Israel or in China is really operated by some human based in the USA. It's okay. We know that it might be the case, but we're talking about the location of the IPs and the possibility of hacking to operate these IPs or these computer zombies in different countries or different states. So our hypotheses were that there are two kinds of activities, the brute force and the sessions, and we might find that each region or each country can excel in one of the two. We suggest that there is a secondary market for usernames and password, meaning you can reach or you can discover by brute force attack username and password, but you don't use them. You just sell them to someone else who can use them to penetrate computers and make all these really sophisticated hacking activities. The third hypothesis was that, as I mentioned before, the best way to do it, this transfer of data and knowledge, is through a network that has the core periphery topology. In this network we have several IPs who are actually discovering all these usernames and passwords, and they just transfer them to different IPs or different hackers or different countries who penetrate the computers. So actually you might say that the brute force attacks are a service that is done by few bots or few people who operate a lot of botnets, who discover usernames and passwords and just deliver them to human hackers who actually attack the computers and make all these delete, edit, copy, transfer data that we know. So looking at the results of the study, we can see that IPs from China are very, very active in the brute force attacks and in the session attacks. Meaning we don't say these are, of course, Chinese hackers. We are just saying that the hacking activity is coming from IPs which are located in China. In the map of the brute force attacks, you can see the brute force attacks as green and the sessions as yellow, and you can see in the map that IPs from China, Ukraine are very, very central in this network, meaning they're connected to the most of the attacks, whether it's a brute force attacks or session attacks. Now, if we claim that China is outlier and we should put aside all the IPs from China, the graph, as you can see it now, without China, it's not really a network. You can see several nodes connected to each other, but you don't see the depth or the density of a real network. You can still see Ukraine as the main node here, but all the other connections that actually were initiated by the Chinese IP are now gone. This demonstrates how the Chinese activity is so strong and crucial to the activity of the hackers of the brute force attacks and the session attacks. As you can see in the remaining network, we still have Ukraine, we have the Netherlands, the United States, Italy, Japan, Israel, few other countries which are still connected between themselves, and data is transferred from the brute force attacks to the session attacks. But then again, you might say that the Ukraine IPs are excel in the brute force, and let's say in the Netherlands they are more specific in the sessions. This is correct, but when you see the picture with Chinese IPs and without them, you understand how critical the role of the Chinese IPs in this network. We can say that certain countries play a unique role as the leaders of the brute force attacks or the session. Let's take the Chinese IPs, they play both in the brute force attacks and in the session areas, while Ukraine is more in the brute force attack, and IPs from the West European are more in the sessions. We believe that these out of the blue sessions really can tell us a story that we cannot tell otherwise, meaning that people, hackers, transfer data, and we guess they get paid somehow, though we don't know the amounts and how the money is transferred. The Chinese IPs are really connected between themselves, and they are connected to all others, meaning Chinese IPs are the core of this network, and you might say that Ukraine is a little bit in the core, a little bit in the periphery, while all other countries or all other IPs from different countries, if it is from the West Europe or the USA or east of Asia, are all playing the role of the periphery, meaning they are mostly connected to the Chinese IPs. And when we go back to the routine activity, we can say that IPs from China, which are responsible to the main of the hacking activities, if you want to say something about them, we might say that the regulation there is not strong enough, or is not in the standards of the West Europe or the USA, and it just opened a door for many activities, whether they are located in China or just using IPs that are located in China. Just opened the door for such malactivities of hacking, either in the brute force attack hacking or the session hacking. And if we want to fight hacking in the global area, we can address specific IP addresses, in our case located in China, and if we take care of these addresses, I think that the whole activity in the global level, as we saw, might decrease, so you don't have to fight hackers all over the place. You might find the main players, deal with them, and since the topology is core periphery, once you take care of the core, the periphery really cannot operate. Okay, so this ends our presentation, and now I'll be more than happy to answer your questions regarding our study. Thank you for listening, and hope to chat with you.